Oh, crap. Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honors, and glories to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushua, Ba'ashem, Rikakwadash, and the more honors to the apostles and elders, great millstones, salutations to the hopeful elect. This is your brother, I'm Noah Allah from Gemma, Chicago, and coming back with you with another lesson, alright? And just goes into what has happened recently here on the news, and as you can see here, alright, it says Iran rejects U.S. ceasefire, plan to cement its own amid push for talks. And yeah, you know, on the news recently, alright, basically they're using propaganda right now, alright, and basically propaganda is biased on one side, and basically the U.S. Over here, the mainstream media, right here in the U.S., alright, it's nothing but full of propaganda that's telling you lies, alright. So they're basically telling you that Iran is losing the war, that Iran wants a ceasefire, that Iran is begging for a deal, alright. That says what they say in the news, but it concurrently tells you that Iran is rejecting the U.S. ceasefire plan. Iran is not wanting to have a talk with, you know, Trump, right? As you can see here, it says Iran rejects proposal to end the war and lays out 5 conditions. Iran foreign minister says there is no negotiation with the U.S. Iran rejects Trump's 15-point ceasefire plan and makes wild demands instead. And basically, alright, Esau, alright, is causing a lot of havoc right now, alright. Here, you know, Esau proposes a ceasefire, but then, you know, when they come to the table, they're still firing at Iran.
You are fired. You are familiar with this sentence. Thank you for your attention to this matter. The central headquarters of Khatam al-Anbiya. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. جمهوری اسلامی ایران با اقتدار کامل ابتکار عمل در منطقه خلیج فارس
is what, you know, the U.S. is trying to do is really at the end of the day they're trying to go after Iran's uranium, right, around that region, right, ultimately trying to get their rare earth minerals and trying to get them, as what you see right here. After President Trump claimed that Iran agreed to major components of his peace plan, including giving up the nuclear weapon ambition, which, you know, they want Iran to give up their nuclear weapon ambition too. But mainly they're going for their uranium. That's their major goal that they're trying to get at. But, you know, the Strait of Hormuz is even close too. You know, currently they're trying to get that open, but Iran is keeping it closed. So, you know, this is taking a toll on the global economy, all right? Every economy is getting disrupted, especially here for America, because, you know, you already see what's already at the pump, all right? People are having to pay extra, you know, a little bit more, all right? And it will, all right? Oil will go up by nearly 200, all right? But it's still going to have a major impact on the U.S. economy and every other economy, all right? The prices of your everyday goods, your groceries, all right? You go to the stores, your grocery bill, all right, is going to cost you way more than what you usually get. Goddamn, we go past $10 again. But nonetheless, you know, Trump, you know, you look at Esau, all right, you know, he's pushing all this, you know, propaganda, all right, you know, he basically bombed the shit out of girls in a school, as what you saw in the news, all right, because that was the U.S., you know, they did that shit, all right. It says Trump says Iran, Trump says Iran let 10 oil ships through the Strait of Hormuz as present to the U.S. But I don't think that ever happened. Trump says Iran is begging to make a deal, not me. And you could clearly tell that Trump is basically hiding that the fact that he is losing this war. All right, the U.S. is losing this war. All right, because if they won the war, all right, we wouldn't even be paying extra. We wouldn't be paying a little bit more at the pump. All right, we wouldn't be paying a little bit more for gas. But nonetheless, this is Genesis 4:11. It says, "No, and now art thou cursed from the earth, which hath opened her mouth to receive thy brother's blood from thy hand. And when thou tillest the ground, it shall not henceforth yield unto thee their strength. A fugitive and a vagabond shall thou be in the earth." And a fugitive is, let's get that out. Vagabond. Fugitive, somebody who basically flees from justice. And Esau, currently he's fleeing from justice. A person who is fleeing from custody, whether it be from jail, a government arrest, government or non-government questioning, vigilante violence, or outrage private individuals. And you see the destruction that Esau is causing right now on the earth today. All right, and he's still getting away from it. He is a fugitive and a vagabond on the earth. All right. It says, "And Cain said unto the Lord, My punishment is greater than I can bear. Behold, thou hast driven me out this day from the face of the earth, and from thy face shall I be hid, and I shall be a fugitive and a vagabond in the earth, and it shall come to pass that every one that findeth me shall slay me." You're kind of seeing how, he's being that fugitive and a vagabond, as usual. All right, somebody who's fleeing from justice. God damn, there's a lot of fucking. Yeah. The U.S. at fault in strike on school in Iran, primary inquiry says. Alright? And what, the U.S., these Edomites, right? Esau is still getting away with it, alright? He's a fugitive. That's what you see in the scriptures, alright? And him showing that he's not losing the war goes to show you that he's a proud man. Habakkuk 2:5, yeah, also because he transgressed by wine, his wine, goes into his philosophy, alright, his democracy, alright. He is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, and that's right. He goes into other people's business and tries to intervene in taking the resources, alright, by the way of the sword. And ultimately, that is what he that's what proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his, how long? And to him that layeth with himself with thick clay. And yeah, Esau, alright, he increased that which is not his, alright, just like what he did to Venezuela, and what he's currently doing over there, what he's trying to do over there in Iran, which he hasn't accomplished yet, but basically taking over Iran. But now they're stuck in a war. They're stuck in a war with Iran. And and he saw there in debt that he cannot pay off. And you can see how much of a proud man that he is. And hey, you look at over here, if Iran really wanted to beg for a deal, all right, then the Strait of Hormuz would have been open by now. But that's not the case, because Iran is not begging for a deal. Iran is rejecting the U.S.'s ceasefire plan. All right. Psalms 55 and 21. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. And that's right. You see Esau trying to, propose a ceasefire plan. But meanwhile, they're still drawing swords. All right. Yeah, they come to the table to try to talk things out, but they're still attacking. All right. War is still in Esau's heart. His words were softened than oil, yet they drawn swords. Right? Never trust the enemy. Sirach 12 and 11. Though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him, and thou shalt be unto him as thou hast wiped the looking glass, and thou shalt know that his rust hath not been altogether wiped away. And that's right. Esau is full of lies, crafty deceits. All right. He is basically that serpent. All right. That is what the scripture says. Never trust the enemy. For like as iron rusted, so is his wickedness. Right? Yeah, Esau is one not to be trusted because what? He's pushing a lot of propaganda on the mainstream media, showing you that, well, as what they're saying, they're telling you that, oh yeah, Iran is losing the war, the U.S. got it and all, but really, the U.S. is losing the war because, like again, we wouldn't be paying that much for gas currently right now. But because we're paying so much for gas, right, it's going to take a toll on the U.S. economy if that war continues to drag on, which it will. But, yeah, nonetheless, hope this lesson was edifying. I want to give all praises, honors, and glories to Yahweh Ba'Shem, Yahweh Shai, and Shalom.